what's about to happen next, which is a panel discussion all about Asia Pacific's hospitality experience. Now, the environment that we know is one that's constantly changing, whether it's customers' expectations, luxury, tech, personalization, the list goes on, right? These aren't just trends anymore. These are expectations, basic expectations, if you may. And the hospitality in our Asia Pacific region is rising higher and higher every day to meet these changing expectations. So I am thrilled for our next panel, and I believe we're all set and ready to go. Our moderator for this panel is Ms Irene Lin, who you know as the VP of Professional Development at Sasios. A big hand for Adeline, please. Alongside our distinguished panel, we have Ms Irene Lin, who is the Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer, Marina Bay Sands. Welcome. Also welcoming Mr. Tommy Lai, Co-founder and Chief Executive Officer at Alyvate Hospitality. Also welcoming Ms Willabelle Ong, Managing Director, W+R Creative. Willabelle, thanks for joining us today. Now, we want to keep our panels engaging, so once again, Pigeonhole is all yours to engage with our panelists. Adeline, time is all yours.
Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you for staying around. I know it's been a very serious morning. We have a lot of big, strong speakers and topics, and we are in between you and lunch. I promise you, you'll not regret sitting down for this one because we have a wonderful panel. Our panelists come from various backgrounds. First time we're trying a very different format. These are people in the hospitality industry that you do not see all the time because they are really working behind us, getting everything to work. So just now, we already witnessed a lot of MOU signing. What does that mean? That really means that we do not progress alone. Sasios believe in working the ecosystem of stakeholders to bring us to the next chapter of the Asia Pacific hospitality industry. So now we're going to dive deeper, actually, into how collaboration and innovative business thinking can help us thrive in the next chapter of the Asia Pacific hospitality industry. And of course, that begins with Irene. Last year at SMF, we all heard about the Marina Bay Precinct partnership. So we just want to hear from her what's been happening, what has changed, what we're going to expect coming up as well. Irene, please.
Okay. Marina Bay Precinct partnership is probably one of my favorite partnerships to talk about. So this idea actually started, a few of us all together, actually, a few of us are sitting there. 3 years ago, when we came out of our evolution, sort of our reinvestment in product, we sort of said, okay, what can we do together to revitalize or push for the evolution of the Bay Precinct? And it really started with one idea: how about we bring everyone together? I think for a long time, most of us in this industry, we think about competing with each other more than we think about working with each other. So we kicked off with one little idea. We brought everyone together into one room and said, you know what, we're just going to show our cards and talk about what we can do together. As we started to delve deeper into this partnership, we realized everyone celebrates Christmas, everyone celebrates Chinese New Year, everyone celebrates F1. So we actually have more things in common than we actually compete. So that was how this was born. I mean, the funny thing is, years ago when Marina Bay Sands was born, Melissa Au was speaking about 2010. There was a little committee that was formed called Bay Watch against Marina Bay Sands because they were worried about Marina Bay Sands. Okay. So, but when MBS came, the whole Bay Precinct actually became
alive.
Correct. So 3 years ago, we started to work together with all of our partners, 8,000 rooms around the Bay. We have over 10 attractions, all the way from sort of Asian civilization, museum, through to the Flyer, Gardens by the Bay. We have about 18 Michelin stars all together around the Bay. And Ken there runs every morning, I hope, around the Bay. So there's so many things to do around Marina Bay Precinct. Now that we're together, we plan MICE events together. We sell ourselves as a destination. last year, 2 years ago, we started to organize festivals together. If anyone has seen our beautiful drone dragons, that was the first time we came together to elevate leisure events together. So you can see the beautiful dragons from Fullerton, from the Marina Bay Sands iconic pool, to Chanel, to Christmas. So, this is definitely one of our favorite partnerships to work on with STB and UOB.
Yeah, indeed, I mean, this is one excellent example of you are actually working with each other, bringing the spillover effects to all the stakeholders within that precinct. I mean, that's what we hope to see in more of Singapore, in other parts of Singapore as well. I guess that's a task that we're throwing back to Singapore Tourism Board to work on. Tommy, you mentioned earlier in our small little group that you had the opportunity to create develop a hotel in Saudi Arabia, and you actually have to work with local villagers. I believe that's a mammoth task, so maybe you want to share with us on how you turn those opportunities, turn the challenge into an opportunity.
Oh yes, well I was very fortunate to be one of the early pioneers into the space in Saudi Arabia back in 2018 actually. And during those time, there wasn't any 2030 vision. It was a market that is like an empty canvas. Then we went in to look at what can be done, and I would say was over the last couple of years was amazing because the country have changed a lot and opened up a lot of space for different, I would say, hospitality drivers to supplement the oil industry. So I was very fortunate to run a group that does a lot of landmark hotels. And one of them is in Neom, in Awula, and also in Riyadh. But the recent one that I spoke about was something of a different approach. Because I think we have moved away from a lot of we call it the loud luxury that you see in that space. People are moving towards a little bit more experiential luxury. Thus, I want to embrace that because I was very fortunate to be able to give it a chance to understand the cultural in that space, which I wasn't very familiar with. And I have to study in order to understand how they think. And I felt that the depth of those culture is misunderstood by a lot of people. When I embarked on a project in the mountains in Asia region, up at about 2,600 meters above sea level, I was amazed by the quality of flora that it actually existed in Saudi Arabia, because everybody think of the location as desert, but in honesty, there are places where it's so beautiful, and because it's so high up in the mountains, it's a all-season resort where in the summer it doesn't cross 30 degrees, which on the ground level usually hits about 48 degrees during summer, and during winter it's about 8 degrees. So that was a marvelous project where it's kind of untouched. But when we are doing this project, my team, together with owners, realized that we can't ignore the rich cultural impact of the mountainous people, and they call them mountain people, where there was some element of their practices has been lost. So we decided that the project needs to engage, I wouldn't say 100%, but we need to engage the villagers. There are about 3 villages spread around that project. We need to engage each and individual village to bring in the experience for our guests.
Correct. In that sense, you also give your potential new hotel guests an opportunity to experience a local life in that sense.
Correct.
Right?
So the new luxury, I would say that people talk about nowadays is not so much of a very loud one, it's more experiential one. How you experience a content or a location that you will bring memories back home, memories that you will impact your life. Not just, oh, it's a beautiful scenery here.
Actually,
but
memories that are unique.
yes, and you can actually relate and not just taking photos. I mean, Instagrammable location is definitely still there, but it's something that you can relate back to your lives. I think that is the luxury of the future.
Yeah. Spot on that experiential luxury point. I mean, the best person to answer that and to address it and deep dive further for us is Willabelle. I mean, all of you will know that she's an artist, she's an entrepreneur. Her work just basically sits on the intersection of luxury, lifestyle, as well as digital influence, right? So how do you manage all of that and bring out that experiential luxury experience for all your followers, over 1 million followers on IG and TikTok?
Well, I guess first of all, thank you, Adeline, for having me here. And it's such a pleasure to be here with Tommy and Irene, who are both, life changers, tastemakers in their own industry. For me, I think most of you don't know me, so I'm going to do a quick self-introduction. I've been doing content creation in luxury fashion and lifestyle for as long as I can remember. And going back to the question, there are 3 common topics that kind of bind me together when I engage with my luxury clients. So first would be heritage. Second is craftsmanship and detail, and number 3 would be emotional resonance. So why I say this is because for number 1, heritage, when I first went on this India press trip last year, we were hosted in this beautiful hotel, which is called the ITC Grand Chola, and it's inspired by the Chola dynasty. So when you walk into the entrance, you see these amazing hand-carved pillars, and I actually found out there were about 400 of them in this hotel. So that kind of blew my mind because it was like stepping into living history. And so that's very similar to one of the brands that I work with as well, which is Delvaux, one of the oldest luxury houses, that specializes in leather goods. They're actually founded in 1829, if I remember correctly. And it's these both brands that honor tradition, they honor heritage, they honor storytelling. And similarly in my work, I try to bring about the process, the BTS, when I engage with such clients. So moving on to craftsmanship, sure enough, you can see it in fashion, you can see it in couture, the stitching, embroidery. But what really stood out for me was one of my experiences in Japan at Hoshinoya, Tokyo. It's a hotel nestled right in the heart of CBD. But when you enter, there is no check-in counter. You are asked immediately to remove your shoes, find a cubby hole, and when you step into that whole place, it kind of feels like you're entering someone's home, which brings that ryokan sort of experience, and that transcends through going to level 2, going to your rooms. So it's things like that that I feel really brings the whole experience together. And also onto my 3rd point, which is emotional resonance. So I have a fantastic story to tell because this is about the connection that lingers on long after you leave the experience, as what Tommy was sharing also. So we were hosted at Marina Bay Sands in this amazing family suite a couple of weeks back. And Irene, my daughter, actually cried. She cried because she didn't want to leave. So she looked at me and she said, "Mama, please, can we stay for a few more days? Can we stay for a week?" And now thinking back, I completely understand why she was so attached to this core memory of hers. I mean, it started the moment we entered the room. There was a playroom on the right, there were 2 double-decker beds, and there was an amazing tent that she jumped right into. She was screaming, and for her, I think that was when the adventure started. She pretended she was a Disney princess, she ran to the kitchen and she started laughing, and I was wondering why. When I entered the kitchen, I saw that the team had, prepared macarons, and they printed photos of her on, icing sugar, and that was such a lovely touch. Beyond the itinerary of being hosted at these amazing restaurants, they also took us to the Balloon Museum, which we actually went twice in a day. I'm not sure if that's allowed, but that was such a strong experience and memory, and it really tied it all for her. And through the lens of, being parents, I also felt very emotionally attached to this experience, and until today, it's something that we still talk about very fondly. So yeah, I think all these 3 points really make up how we engage with luxury clients, and we always try to show the human touch and the connection beyond, the experience.
Thanks for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for that.
We're happy to come by again.
Please do, please do. I think, I'm surprised you have a daughter.
Oh yes, I have a 3-year-old daughter.
Thanks for saying that. I mean, just to add on there as well, we just went through, obviously, our $1.7 billion reinvestment in IR1. which is sort of the current Marina Bay Sands, and that, and an outcome of that is family rooms.
Yes.
So, we believe, not just in the product has to make sense, but it's what you were talking about.
Yes.
It's the, we call it 1,000 different gestures, a thousand gestures that come together to
Yeah.
make things
The
special.
experience so special, yeah.
Correct. Not only for who's paying, but also, for the little ones. And it makes a
Absolutely,
difference.
it's the holistic experience, yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
A very clear example of how that exceptional experience, it's going to stick in your daughter's mind,
For sure.
You're going to come back to you every year and say, Mommy, can we go there again, please?
Yes, she always passes by Marina Bay and she's like, we stayed there,
And then you're going to give the job, a very hard job to Irene. How do you up the level again?
How do you elevate?
Yes. Maybe you want to share now about this recent new campaign that you have launched, Above Beyond. Is that what we're talking about here?
Correct. So, we, it's no secret. We have new rooms. We have a new product. And if you've ever seen our previous rooms and the current rooms, it really is 180 degrees. It's day and night. So, but a product is not good enough for us, right? A product race is just a race at arm's length because there's always going to be someone better, someone more beautiful,
something bigger,
somewhere else, right? So when we decided, when we knew this was coming, we said, okay, how do we look at it more holistically? For a long time, Marina Bay Sands is known for its iconic outside. Everyone knows the three towers. We're one of the most Instagrammable places on earth. But not many people know what happens inside. So along with this branded journey, we came up with probably the most comprehensive brand program that we could, aptly titled Above Beyond. Because we believe Marina Bay Sands was always born to go beyond, even in its structure, in sort of having the first iconic pool, up its towers. But how do we bring that concept to the 12,000 people who work here? And how do we make every individual, down to the little ones, feel special and feel human? So to us, that is luxury. And everyone's luxury is different. Everyone experiences it differently. A mom's luxury is seeing a little one being happy. A MICE delegate is like, how can I actually be a lot more productive when I come here for a meeting, not just to meet from 9 to 5, but how can I also see the city? How can I experience, wellness? How do I take care of myself because I'm tired after speaking on a panel for hours? So, Above Beyond is all of that. It's not prescriptive, but it's about recognizing, people are still humans, and they come here. We're hyper-focused on who that customer is, who that guest is, what they are looking for, and how do we elevate, to your point.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, it takes a whole village, right, basically?
It's a whole village.
Then my question is, how do you then use technology or use AI to help you achieve the efficiency, if not at all, does it?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question because I think the potential of AI is incredible, right? But to us, we believe, because hospitality is the oldest industry on earth, it comes from, moms being hospitable to kids when they come back, right? So that's how it started. So for us, AI is, our objective with AI is to solve service gaps. So simple things about learning, when you go to a restaurant, how many times have you gone to a restaurant and you're ready to order your food, but you can't find someone? So, we use AI to observe, like what's your gaze when you finish looking at your menu? When you close your menu, how do we know, that a waiter has to be prompted to come to you? So we use AI to solve issues, not to make necessarily our lives easier, but our customers' lives easier.
Willabelle, how would you balance that, high tech versus high touch?
I mean, I completely agree with Irene in the way that AI is meant to enhance. So talking about the high-tech side of things, in my work, sometimes I work with brands who like a particular campaign and they want to boost it or run ads. And for the longest time, I've always been very insistent that I know my audience best. So I would, choose the audience demographics, location, age, interest, that sort of thing. Until one day, one of my friends from the industry, she actually tapped me on the shoulder and she was like, hey, you've been doing this manually, but did you know there's actually an AI way to help run these ads? And sure enough, we did this thing called A/B testing where you let Meta run an ad and you run an ad manually. And of course, Meta one did better. And yeah, I mean, I admit defeat. They know my audience better. So I think that's the magic of where AI comes in to enhance. And then also, I feel like the high-tech side is when the magic is already created. So going back to, talking about high touch, it's having that human touch in a way where, okay, I could use ChatGPT for writing a script or a storyboard, but it's where I come in with my own tone of voice, my nuances, my own, detailing for cinematography that really makes that campaign mine. And I know we were talking about what creates stickiness, right? So I feel that after the campaign is out, for example, I like to engage with my followers through, talking on DMs or even in comments, running polls, showing behind the scenes, sharing my reflections. And it's really these dialogues and conversations that create stickiness and people are invested to follow you and to find out more. Yeah, so for me, tech creates reach and impression, but connection is really what drives longevity.
Thank you. Tommy, China is clearly a leader in AI, right?
Yeah.
So with your experience working in China, with, of course, your joint venture partner being the 5th largest hotel management group in China, what's your take on this?
Well, I think there's two ways of looking at AI. One is where a lot of people are very familiar is how does it impact the operation side of the hospitality. And the other side is actually how we view AI as using that tool to close a gap between different players and different businesses in terms of investment. I will touch on briefly on both points. The first point that we touch on is usually at how we look at AI and how does it impact a lot of big brands and how smaller brands or how other operations, they are not as big, compete with each other. For example, I mean, we, in the hospitality world, the ones that runs very fast and way ahead of everybody else are the OTAs. They are, I would say, at this moment, the leaders in using AI to sieve out all your likes and don't like and what dislike and whatever, and then dish out the things that you see. So that is in order to push their business. But that AI format is now available and in a much easier way for the brand themselves, the big brands themselves to utilize it. So that closes the tech company and the traditional hotel company. Used to be a big gap. Now the gap gets smaller. Even like my panelists here, I mean, just 5 years ago, I don't think you are able to reach 1 million people without having that platform.
Absolutely.
And now with the AI platform, you can reach even further. That's a part where the investment and how we can close the gap between the big and the small players to be on a slightly more even playing field. And then I touch on, I mean, this is a big topic, I wouldn't want to drill too much on it, but on a question on how does AI really help in your operations? So for us, especially for my projects, I did work on, like I mentioned, a lot of immersion projects, experiential projects. It's very hard to train everybody to be on the same level of knowledge. Like you want to share, like who has been here and how this thing has been practiced and how to get follow through certain points of experience. We are dealing with few hundred colleagues every day, and the turnover is very fast too. A simple AI for us is having them on taps on prompting what is the next level of knowledge that my clients want. Because like what Irene says, different people have different expectations, right? Some people want deeper, some people can't take it, right? So it's how you manage that knowledge gap that AI comes into play. I will not talk about the AI helps to help you with this and that.
We have an afternoon session just
but
for
not
AI.
that. But the main thing that I focuses on, because the cultural part of it or the immersion part of it is so deep sometimes that I myself couldn't remember so many different resorts that I went to. How can I share a deeper knowledge with my guests sometimes? So AI does help to work on that process of I can determine whether the guest needs a deeper understanding. Or maybe the person actually has that understanding already. We shouldn't be lay on something very elementary. We should go on in a deeper depth, right? So that helps a lot. For me, I see the future AI in operation will be like that.
Thank you. Actually, on the same point, right? When you talk about the adaptation and adoption of AI, then it's about how do we get the people to embrace AI if need be, right? And then our current industry professionals like ourselves, are we ready to adopt that? How do we train the next generation? Is there even a next generation to train? I mean, this is one question that popped up on the pigeonhole as well, right? How would the new generation, it's not coming up. How's the new generation of hospitality workers like? Is there a talent crunch here? How are we going to groom them for the next chapter in this hospitality experience we're talking about? High touch, high tech, balancing it all together.
Can I share my experience on that? Okay, so I'm considered the older generation of hospitality players, I guess. But we at this level will be worried about how my next level of next generation of colleagues coming up into the space. How will we manage it? The reason why we are worried because we are trained traditionally. We shouldn't be worried. We should be worried about how we embrace and how we should change, and not now how the new generation be different, because they will be very different from us. They will embrace all AI much faster than us because it's an exponential growth. We are the ones that need to be taught, and how, I always ask myself, how can I be better, future-proof my thinking, my actions, to interact with the next generation and not the other way around, because they are moving so fast. I mean, I have two kids, one is 20 and one is 17. They're moving so fast sometimes that you realize that the way they use ChatGPT is not the same like what traditionally what we use. Plonk in a passage, plonk in a speech, and ask them to write a new one. They will talk to the ChatGPT and give them criteria of what to do and generate content that requires ChatGPT to think for like few days, not immediate. So it's not so obvious now that the gap is getting bigger. Actually, the gap is very big. We at a more so-called the traditional level hasn't been very open to embrace it yet, because we haven't picked up the speed of embracing it. In fact, we need to, and I would highly encourage, we have to see how we can embrace more than worry less. That's my view on that.
You make me feel like we're on a generation gap here, right?
No,
it's like,
no. I think it's
the Willabelle and her generation definitely going to embrace
it's
AI.
not a generation gap. I think I was trying to avoid saying those negative words because it's actually not a generation gap,
Okay.
but rather it's a knowledge gap. A knowledge gap of how we learn things, how we embrace things are different now. So we have to be able to break our mental model and be prepared to receive things very differently from what we are taught in school. One teacher, 40 kids in front. These are the traditional methods that we shouldn't be practicing anymore. Unfortunately, this has been still in all the school around the world. But you can imagine 3,000 years ago, this is how been taught. One student, 40 kids. Today, in today's world, it's still one student, 40 kids. I mean, is there something wrong here? It's obviously something wrong here. But how can we change it? We have to change it. But the people that are thinking of it to change, it's very hard to break it because we don't know what we don't know. or we don't know what we don't want to embrace on. So we need to break the shell and start embracing it, and then we see the light.
So then going back to what Irene earlier said, you have 1,200 employees on this.
12,000.
12,000, I'm sorry, 12,000 employees. Then all the more this question is important for you. Is there going to be a talent crunch, and how will Sands then approach this potential challenge, right?
Yes. There is definitely, we're always hiring. So if you're interested in a role with Sands, please go to marinabaysands.com. We promise, you know, it really is the best place on earth to work, especially with our new journey, with the ambition. I see our colleagues there. You know, there's no doubt there are roles where AI is going to make easier, but you know, 80% of our workforce is actually still operational. So, you know, if you love people, if you love the business, if you love travel, if you love 8,000 thread count sheets, please come and work with us. It is a really, really good place, and there's no place, you know, to be, no other place really in Singapore where you can be, you know, part of an icon and part of the ambition.
Good sales. And then as the Vice President for Professional Development at SASIO, I would say come and get trained with the right certification so that you can, of course, then contribute to this industry. Good. Willabelle, do you want to say anything about the younger generation of travelers? You know, are they looking for that kind of experiential experiences that we may not have encountered or we may not have thought about?
Well, a similar experience that I have would maybe, you know, I'm actually on the steering committee of the National Gallery Singapore Gala for this year. And in honor of SG60, we're trying to do something really big. So we're organizing this amazing gala to raise funds for the gallery. And one of my roles, as well as the other committee roles, is to gather and curate auction lots. So with these auction lots, we realized that people no longer want things, you know, as we have all been discussing. They want experiences. And sure, we can partner up with a luxury hotel and offer a stay, but what's that going to do? You know, at the end of the stay, the person's just going to go back to their family and friends and be like, oh, I've stayed in a beautiful hotel. So one of the things that we've done is to really tap on personal experiences to kind of offer them a once-in-a-lifetime sort of opportunity. And this kind of harks back to my own experience. I was in Amsterdam with my husband, and we were at this Michelin restaurant. And at the corner of my eye, I see a lot of the staff kind of ushering people into one of the back rooms. And I was asking my husband, oh, you know, what's going on? When is it going to be our turn? Sure enough, on the fourth course, we were actually ushered back into the kitchen. And they had set up like this table in front of the chef, and we got to see the whole BTS process. And the chef was having a conversation with us and making our meal right in front of us. And even though it was confined in this small restaurant, we were so blown away, and this experience just kind of like transcended all our other, you know, Michelin kind of dining experiences. So going back to the gala, one of the experiences that we actually managed to secure was actually from Delvaux also. So basically you get flown on business class to Brussels, and you're hosted in the most beautiful, historically significant hotel in Brussels, followed by an amazing city tour with a renowned local showing you all the best spots, nothing touristy. And then on the next day, you have a private tour of the Magritte Museum, which is an incredible place. I've been there myself. Magritte is one of the world's most incredible artists, and they've also partnered up with Delvaux. So it makes a very good kind of crossover. And on the third day, finally, you are, you know, allowed into the atelier, the back room of the brand, where you get to see the artisan making bags, you get to see the leather library, and at the end of this whole trip, you are presented with a one-of-a-kind limited edition bag. So this whole experience was very amazing because you have that object, you have art, you have cultural. So I think it's all these experiences that really kind of make, you know, the discerning traveler find even more valuable. Yeah, so that would be my take on the, you know, the upcoming traveler who is looking for the next thing, you know.
I think it's like being a part of it, you know, when you are being a part of that journey, seeing it happen from creation to actually the product itself, and you actually carry it home, right? It's a bag, right? So you get to tell people that this is unique because you were part of it.
So,
Yeah, I think that will create that
and
memory forever.
it's a lifelong anchor in your head, you know. You carry this memory throughout your life, and you might pass it on to the next generation.
Exactly, good. Now I just want to throw it out loud now, open. Let's all be open about it. Throw away all your budgets, throw away all your logistics issues and hurdles. Share with us what you actually want to see next for the Singapore MICE industry. Okay, Asia Pacific hospitality industry. What's next? What would you desire?
Me? My friends will tell you that I'm a dreamer, but I think it's a really good question. It's a challenging question. I think the future of hospitality, and we've been kind of looking at this as we are thinking about IR2. Obviously, we just had our groundbreaking, and IR2, the experience that we want to curate, in the 2030s, alongside STV's journey.
Grand vision?
Yes, it's like, what do we want it to be, right? So what do we want it to be beyond a building? When, actually, when you look at Marina Bay Sands currently, we actually already offer so much. So I think the way we're thinking about the future of hospitality is, it's not just about building more things. We believe at Marina Bay Sands, at a place like Marina Bay Sands and many other places around the world, you can already live your best life. So you can come here and just be someone else for a weekend, and it's glorious. But the future of hospitality would be how you can become the best version of yourself. So imagine a place that could give you balance. If your persona is a mom for the weekend, how do you become the best version of yourself, with your family? If your best version of yourself is traveling with your pets, then how do we enable that, right? So it's not about just building more things, not building more products. That is important, it has its place. But how do we build it so you become, the best version of yourself? So how do we enable our customers, our guests, to be their next best level? How do we build MICE spaces that allow breakthroughs and transformation, not just a space for people to gather and talk? So, yeah.
Good. So then the job now is to your colleagues to make that happen.
That's right.
Tommy.
Yeah, I think for me it's quite straightforward. After 30 years of corporate life, I decided to take a path of being a little bit more entrepreneur, coming out myself to create a new hospitality firm, creating a new brand, because I want to see how we can use and rely a little bit more on technology to influence our traditional hotel industry. We are always on the back seat and laggers in terms of new things happening, not by choice but designed. The reason is because we are dealing with more manpower as compared to many industries. We are dealing with human-to-human interaction, which takes time to change, and behavioral. So those are the core things that are always been held very strongly in the industry. But moving forward with different concepts, different things happening, I want to see how technology is able to match up experiences to individual, using AI, using many things that beyond what we can imagine today. Thus, I set up a company where I want to push a new concept on that area, because I've been doing a lot of very interesting projects that always try to be different from others, because it's not easy to attract people with the same run-of-the-mill things. It can be bigger and shinier, but everybody can build another one, right? So, for example, the Qatar project that I did with my team is that the Cherry Qatar, which we have to totally reposition a Islamic, but not very Islamic, but a starting of new Islamic culture then was Mughal Empire, which is the starting of the India Empire, India itself, the modern India, to blend that design concept into hotels. And that bring a subtle different, but yet Islamic different. And we constantly have to second guess whether our guests will like it or not. But the investment on it is very high. It's huge investment for a bet like that. You know what I mean? Because we conceive the idea, we push through the idea, we create all the experiences based on, let's say, the Mughal Empire, the art pieces, the nice pillars that we built, everything is nice. But we are just second guessing, is this the next trend? We are confident because we know roughly from our experience in the market, but it is very risky going forward to second guess the next generation. My biggest worry is our investors, my investors coming in with me. What is next? They will ask me, Tommy, what's next for us? What is next? What is the next big thing, right? So we need to be able to embrace that and how we can better match all these big data and experiences to recreate things that I think will future-proof many things in,
thank you.
I mean, in the hospitality world.
Willabelle? For me, it would probably be cultural gateways via like a private access. So why I say this was because I was also on this brand trip with Vacheron Constantin, and as part of the trip, we were flown there to kind of view these limited edition pieces of watches made by the artisans from the Louvre. And coupled with that, we actually had this incredible private tour at the Louvre. And I've never been at the Louvre, so imagine being up close with the Mona Lisa without a queue, and you could, just go around the whole space without a time limit. And that night, we also had a dinner there, a private dinner there. And it's sort of like these little experiences that make that luxury hospitality stay a little bit more special. So for me, I would love to see, hotels or museums and galleries maybe partnering up to offer that sort of rare behind-the-scenes glimpse. It could be a private wine tasting in a Michelin star chef's home, or a viewing at a private art collector's museum. I think these sort of things are really special and could really make lifelong memories for the discerning traveler. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks for those ideas.
Yeah. And yourself, Adeline?
For me, I mean, Irene mentioned it briefly. Most of you know that I'm a dog lover, right? Even though my dogs have passed away. But my dream is for all of us to be able to travel anywhere and everywhere with our dogs anytime we want without quarantine problems, issues like that. So as long as they can sit right beside me, I think that's the dream that I would have. I hope that it will come true one day.
Yeah.
With that, I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. We are between them and lunch wonderfully served by MBS. So I think we should thank everyone for sitting in this discussion, and I hope that you also enjoy our lunch later. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Adeline and our panelists. If I could invite you to take a few steps forward for a photo together, please. It's given us plenty to think about as we talk about the next chapter of Apex Hospitality Experiences. I really resonate with unique experiences. How about that? Behind the scenes. Could be an idea that we see happening. A couple more pictures being taken. Big waves for our camera. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adeline.